Oh, well, hello there, you beautiful human, and welcome to your yoga practice. I am Andrea Dawn, and today we are going to be doing a practice for sciatica. Often, the physical practice irritates my sciatica even more, so hopefully this is helpful for you. Just be mindful throughout the whole practice and being really tuned into that area and establishing the difference between a helpful, maybe uncomfortable sensation and pain. So we'll get started today in a comfortable seat. You might sit yourself up onto a prop, tilt your hips forward, draw your feet in, ears over shoulders over hips. And today let's come to a simple prayer mudra, Anjali mudra. Either take a soft downward gaze or close the eyes and begin to tune into your breath. Maybe you start to make the breath a little bit more elongated. You might even add some sound, your ujjayi breathing, as I sing an om and we attune ourselves to the vibration of all of the universe so we can be in flow. So you're welcome to join me or simply receive. If you're choosing to join me, inhale. Flutter your eyes open, find your smile. And let's start today down on our backs. Once you get down onto your back, we'll bring the knees into the chest. Just give yourself a little squeeze and then take your arms out on a diagonal. So this is going to be our base. And we're just going to start to move the knees from side to side. And then each time you move, we're going to go a little bit further. So you'll use your hands to press down to help anchor yourself down. So you're going to have to engage the core a little bit to stop yourself. But then eventually you might bring the knees all the way down to one side and then all the way down to the other side. So a helpful practice is to move the spine in every plane, in every physical practice that you do. So we're getting our twisting in. And then let's bring the knees back through center. Take your hands to your knees, open your knees up, and then just start to circle them around. Really beginning to tune into sensation where you're experiencing sensation and seeing if you can quiet the I like and I don't like to just experience the experience a little bit more objectively. And then other direction. And then we get to take that whole thing off of the mat so it can be less about our opinions about things and getting to experience the experience for the depth of it. Okay, we're going to keep the right knee hugged into the chest and extend the left leg long. Good, then we'll extend the right leg up into the air. Now take the right leg and bring it to the midline. Good, and you might even already experience some feeling. Like my area is triggered right now, so I already experienced feeling. But we're gonna see about flexing the foot. What does that do? How does that change it? And then turning the heel in and the toe out with the leg across the midline. So that might be, you might start to experience sensation in different places. And again, this is where it comes into your discretion of what is uncomfortable but might be helpful and what is pain. Now let's keep the leg in the midline. This whole part, we're going to keep the leg over in the midline and then turn the toe in and the heel out. And then let's keep the foot flexed and just go back and forth. For me, that almost feels kind of like it's like scraping out some of the gook in that area. Good. Then bring the leg back so it's coming straight up from the hip and just give it a good shake out. And then we'll bring the leg back to neutral, but now bring it back again over into the midline. Now we'll point the toe and we'll do the same thing. Heel in, turning the outer blade edge of the foot away from you, or maybe a little bit more up towards the ceiling. And then opposite. So now it's an internal rotation. And now I'm going to go from internal to external with the foot pointed. Then bring the leg back, give it another good shake out. Beautiful. And now let's bend the left knee, cross the right ankle over the left. So now you're in a figure 4. So we will move over to the left side. We're going to do a few things on the right side, and then we'll switch over to the left side. Lift this figure 4 up towards your chest. So you might already be experiencing feeling in that area, and then let's just move it from side to side. So without the use of your arms, sometimes the arms can come in helpful, but it's nice to kind of start slow and progressively feel that feeling increase. Good. Now keep the figure 4 system of legs in center and extend the left leg up and circle out the ankle. So I don't know about you, but when I have bad bouts of my sciatica, it just runs down into my ankle. So taking good foot and ankle care is also very helpful. Make sure you're circling in both directions. Okay, now we're going to use this little bit of a system to rock and roll and come all the way up. So you can bring your hands down, maybe you even lift your bum up a little bit, and then come all the way up to sit and fold forward. So for some of us, this might be plenty. For some of us, we might fold forward. Good. Then we'll sit back up, extend the right leg out long, and roll all the way back down onto your back. And we'll repeat that same sequence. So hug the knees into the chest. This time, we'll hug the knees in and then press the knees away from you into your hands, but use your hands to draw the knees back into you. So you're creating this opposition between hands and knees, and maybe a little traction in the low back, and that could be helpful. So we draw the knees in and then we press away into the hands, but like we're trying to draw the knees back into the chest and not allowing ourselves to. Good. Now take your hands to your outer knees, press inward, but press the knees back out into the hands. So this can help in stabilizing the pelvis. Okay, now we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to take the hands to the insides of the knees, press the knees into the hands as you're trying to press the knees away from one another. Good. Hug the knees in. And then extend the right leg out long, left leg up. Then we'll start by taking the left leg over to the midline. Now flex the foot. Good. Now turn the heel in and the toes out. So externally rotating, but the leg is to the midline. And then internally rotating, toes in, heels out. Foot flexed. Good, then bring the leg back to neutral, give it a good shake out, and we're going to repeat that with the foot pointed. Bring the leg back to midline, point the toes, and then let's start by externally rotating, and then internally rotating, and then back and forth, back and forth. I forgot to go back and forth with the foot flexed. So let's flex the foot and go back and forth like that as well. Good, then bring the leg back so it's over the hip. Shake it out. Bend the right knee, cross left ankle over right knee. So now you're in this figure 4. Then lift that system of legs up, and we're just going to shift it from side to side. The quality of your practice is the amount of attention you pay to it, right? Not necessarily some kind of crazy, insane arm balance doesn't make it a more quality practice. It's more quality if we're noticing more subtleties, if we're more tuned into our breath. And then let's bring it through center, extend the right leg up, and circle out the right ankle. And then circle it in the other direction. Good. Now we're going to come up to sit again, so you can plant your hands. Maybe you lift the bum up and then come all the way up. You might stay seated. You might fold forward. We're not going to be here long. We're going to take it into a deeper hip stretch now to maybe get into the outer hip and maybe where you're experiencing some of that pain. And we're going to start by doing that into a deer pose. So we're going to start on this left side. And in the deer pose, I'm just bending my left knee and bringing the right knee to the sole of the left foot. So I'm here in this shape. And then walk the hands forward. Rest on the forearms. Now that might be plenty of feeling on your left hip. If it's not and you're not experiencing much feeling there, like for me, I don't feel a whole lot here, and it's more helpful for me to go into pigeon. For some of us, pigeon might be way too much and actually irritate the sciatica. So just be very mindful. If you're going into pigeon, you'll extend the right leg all the way back behind you. The right leg shoots straight out behind you. And then my left knee is outside of the hip. My shin is coming in towards my right hip. Now, if you want to experience more feeling, you'll make the shin more parallel to the front of the mat. So that just is a little bit of you kind of exploring and figuring that out. So we'll take some time here in our pigeon or our deer pose. And we want to make sure we're not just like dumping into that space. So, I like to even make sure in my pigeon, like, can I lift and lower myself in control? So I know I'm not just taking all of my weight and pressing it into that space. Like I said, the practice can be helpful, and also sometimes the practice tends to be hamstring heavy, meaning like we go way too far into our hamstrings. And for me, that overstretching of my hamstrings has hurt my sciatica even worse. So when you're doing these forward folds and things, being mindful of maybe keeping the feet flexed, maybe not going as far, maybe, oftentimes we're taught to fold with that flat spine, but a neutral spine. You could round the spine and come up higher. And we'll talk about that as we move on to the practice. Okay, we're gonna switch sides now. So we're gonna come on up and we'll just shift our legs. So either you're going to go into that deer pose where now the right leg is forward, the left knee is bent, and we're coming here, or you're extending the left leg all the way out behind you. Put your awareness into the space where you're experiencing the difficulty. Put your love there. Send thoughts of healing and kindness. The power of attention is such a great one. And it's been proven in so many things, like I think about my plants and things, and it's been shown how when we give care and attention, things prosper and grow. So we need to do the same thing for our own bodies. So instead of avoiding that area, we are mindfully going there. All right, let's come out of this. So to come out of it, I'm just gonna walk my hands in and come to an all fours position. In this all fours position, let's just swirl our hips around. So when I talked about movements of the spine, circumduction is one of those movements where we want to move our spine in a circular way. So we can twist, we can side bend, we can circumduct, and we can have flexion and extension. So let's take a round of that flexion and extension where we pause, land the hips so that they're over the knees, shoulders over the wrists. Inhale to lift the tail. Find your extension, let your belly drop, lift through your heart and chest, and now we'll find our flexion by pointing the tail down, rounding the spine, letting the head fall. One more round like that, tilt the tail up. You can watch the energy move from the tail to the lower back, middle back, upper back, and then now as we go into our flexion, you can move the energy back down from upper back, middle back, lower back, right? So we make the movement so mindful. And now at the very edge of this flexion, we're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Give yourself a few pedal outs. All right, now we're just going to start to tiptoe our feet up. And we'll land with the right foot directly in front of the left. So it's like I'm standing on a tightrope. My left toes are to the back of my right heel. Now, just notice if your feet are splaying out to the side. So we want to press down evenly through big toe ball mound, pinky toe ball mound, heel. And now this already might be too much. It's like in this forward fold, it's way too much on our hamstrings. So bend the knees, lift yourself up, let yourself hang. Let the head be heavy. Right? Oftentimes in forward folds, we don't need to have our hands on the ground. We're just looking for experience and sensation in the back of the legs. So we get caught up in thinking it needs, like, it's only good if we have to get our fingers to the ground. No, we don't. What will serve you in your life? So bend your knees enough now to bring your hands down, but we're going to take our heels out and our toes in. So my heels are turned out, my toes are turned into the midline. So you might come back up, or if it's okay for your hands on the ground with your knees bent, walk your hands over towards the right, walk your hands over towards the left. If you're up high, you're just going to swing over towards the left, swing over towards the right, and just notice if you feel any feeling in those areas where you experience the pain. And if it feels like you've found a spot that could be helpful, maybe stay there. So for me, when I come over to the left, I can really start to feel into that space. It feels like it's a good feeling. Or maybe not the words good, but maybe helpful, beneficial, healthy, healing, nourishing. And then let's come back through center and we'll do the opposite. So now toes in, heels out. And again, you might be up here. You might be swinging from side to side here looking for a space, or your hands could be down and you're walking your fingertips from side to side. It's like you're an explorer, exploring all the unknowns of your body, trying to see every little crevice. You can do things like bend the knees more, send the hips back. Ooh, like if I bend my left knee and straighten my right leg and send my hips back, woo! Good, and then from there, we're just gonna switch sides. So now I'm gonna step my left foot in front and my right foot behind, and we'll do the exact same thing. So now my heels go out and my toes go into the midline, and I'm gonna search around. You can see about moving your hips, moving them from side to side. Remember, part of this practice is developing your agency. So I like to say that yoga is is yearning to operate and grow in awareness, authenticity, and agency. And now we'll switch, toes in, heels out. We talk about in yoga ridding ourselves of desire, but I'm not there personally, and I find it helpful to have the desire to grow, to expand. Those lead me to healthy behaviors, to changing unhealthy habits. All right. Okay, from here we're just going to plant our hands, walk our feet back out from our downward facing dog, roll forward to high plank. Drop your knees, sit back onto your heels, and then fall off onto one side, bring your legs around. We're just going to do a little strengthening exercise because it's also helpful to have strong glutes and hamstrings, no matter what our issues are. So plant the heels so they're in front of the knees, hands behind you. If you can't have them directly behind you and fingers facing in, they can be out past the shoulders, fingers turned out, and then lift the hips up into the air. So you could be someone who's just lifting and lowering. When you get to the top, squeezing the glutes and then lowering back down. I want a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is on the top of a lift, extend my right leg. And then I'm going to lower and lift there and really focus on my left glute. When I get to the top, I'm going to check in with my left foot, pinky mound, big toe ball mound, heel, and then lower again. Let's do 5 more with this leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. And then if you've done that, we'll switch. Lift, and now the left leg would extend. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful work. Lower down, extend the legs out long, come all the way down onto your back. Then hug your knees into your chest. Circle the knees around. Other direction. Good, bring your arms back out. We'll end just the way we started with a few side to side spinal rotation. And then into our Shavasana, our final resting pose, our beautiful, wonderful opportunity to take a metaphorical death, to acknowledge that we are going to die. This is a certain. And so it's one of the things we know. We don't know anything, but we do know we are going to die. And so really acknowledging that can be helpful to live more enthusiastically, to have that desire to experience each moment free of all of the lenses and perspectives we've put on things, and get to experience just the more true nature and joy that we naturally are. Stay here as long as is right for you. I am so grateful to have had your attention. I hope this practice was helpful, and I will see you hopefully soon. My heart sees and feels and smiles to yours. Namaste, yogis.